Just a heads up that Creighton is on its way to the interview room. Be here in just a few minutes, and I'll go ahead and give some of those reminders as we do. Before we begin, please check your phones. Make sure they're on silent. No recording of the press conferences when you're here in the interview room. Thank you. Should I go ahead and announce that before, or wait? They're on their way, so I'll just... Thank you. Okay. As the Blue Jays get settled here on the dais, just a reminder, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. And as we usually do, we ask Coach for opening remarks on today's battle.
First off, congrats to Coach Dutcher and the San Diego State program. Obviously, we've played them a lot for two teams that aren't anywhere close geographically to each other. And as I said yesterday, shared a charter with them. So we're well aware of the character with which that program is built on. And we have tremendous respect for them. And we had a game that came down to the very end last year that went into overtime, and we had a game that came down to the very end today. And fortunately, we won last year, and we were a little short this year. But it doesn't take away, I won't allow it to take away from what these guys have accomplished, how they've galvanized not just a campus community or an Omaha community, but really anybody that's had anything to do with Creighton, that's been touched by Creighton in any way in their lives. They've stopped what they were doing the last couple Friday and Sundays, and they've came on this ride with us. And to witness how these guys represent the name in the front of their jersey, it's really what sports is all about. And you win with class and you lose with class, and that's what we're going to do. We had opportunities. Defensively, obviously, we held them to 37%, which is good enough. We just, we had some decent looks at the basket the second half, and we're unable to knock them down. But all the credit goes to San Diego State, and it's on us that we didn't quite get it done, not anyone else.
Thank you, Coach. First question is front row here on the right side.
Joel Lorenzi with the Omaha World Herald. R2, I won't ask you to speak on officiating, but the final call, just waiting all that time to see the results. Just describe that feeling to me, knowing that your season could end at the free throw line.
It's a tough feeling. You work so hard all year, and it comes down to a play like that. I don't know. I think we could have done a little bit more to make it a game that didn't have to go down to that, but it's a tough way to lose.
Your wrist, it seemed like you were tending to your wrist late in that second half. Did that have any effect down the stretch, or what ended up happening with your wrist?
I mean, yeah, I got bumps and bruises, but everybody got bumps and bruises. It's late in the year, everybody's hurting, so I'm not going to say that's the reason that we lost. Things happen. We fell short, credit to SDSU.
More questions here in the interview room. And while I say that, reminder, those of you on Zoom, if you have a question, use the raise hand feature and we'll work you in. Let's go front row, right side.
Greg, two parts, both on the officiating. One is I'm curious what your thought were on the call on Ryan Nembhard, obviously that proved to be the decisive basket. Do you think that was indicative of the way the game was called today? And the second part is I'm curious if you were given an explanation at the very end of the game.
The only part I'll answer is no, I wasn't given an explanation. They just didn't think there was any time left. There was no call on the floor on whose ball it was, so I don't know. I'm not sure what they were reviewing. But I'm Pete, with all due respect, two teams played their tails off. Officiating's part of the game, and we're not going to go there. We lost the game because we didn't do enough, and San Diego State did.
Stay on the right side.
Coach, really limited run for Farabello tonight. What was the strategy behind that, personnel-wise?
Yeah, I'll probably watch the film and maybe regret that. I've rode these 5 hard all year long, and when you get to this point, the old saying, you dance with the one that brought you, and these guys have done a terrific job, and Francisco's been terrific as well, but. With the longer timeouts and actually, you got an extra timeout there too, where it's a full timeout. And I was asking them a lot if they needed a blow, and when they tell me no, I trust them. So these guys earned the right to be on the floor when this game was decided.
Left side on the aisle.
Yeah, Rick Bozich, WDRB in Louisville. For Ryan, you were the defender on the last play. What was your view of what happened?
I don't know. He just they came off a little screen. He got downhill and tried to make a floater. I tried to make a rear view contest. He caught a foul, so yeah.
Back to the front on the right.
Baylor, that bucket with about 20 seconds left, the steal and the layup, it felt like that's probably what we would have remembered from this game had you guys won. Just describe to me what was going through your head throughout all those reviews and all the time you guys spent waiting on the end result.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to, make the tough catch, or make the catch tough, excuse me. And, they weren't bringing anybody else, back. It was just me and that guy, and he was kind of posting me up, yelling at the inbounder to, throw it. And as soon as, he let it go, I knew he was throwing it deep, and so I just released and was able to beat him to the other side. And luckily he jumped and just whiffed totally, and it just dropped right in my arms, and I was able to lay it in and tie the game up.
Front row, right side.
Greg, an interesting strategy point at the end of the game. You foul, you had one to give. It also negated the shot clock, which maybe gave them a little bit extra time. I'm wondering if you could just walk through the decision-making process there.
I think it was 2 seconds difference, and they had their play set up. They were going into a high ball screen situation, and I just felt with 6 seconds left, we kind of knew what they had in their bag from a side out of bounds standpoint, and we thought we could get into a situation where it was going to be a last second deal. Had there been 4 seconds or more, I probably wouldn't have done it. We thought with under 3 that it was probably the right play, but it's coaching. Sometimes what you decide to do is right. Sometimes what you decide to do is wrong. But had they gone in and laid it in and we not fouled, I'd be kicking myself for that one too.
Going to take a quick Zoom call here, guys, from Dan.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Coach, I know that the way that the season went this year, this is obviously not the way that you wanted it. to end, just what you could say on reflecting on this season and the effort that you've seen in your guys and just what Creighton has brought to this country. It's a terrible way to see it end, but it's been a beautiful story up until this point.
Yeah, and it's what transpired this season has been a wonderful journey to be part of. You have ebbs and flows to every season. This was the most adversity that was in my coaching career that was ever thrown at a good team, a team that really had to do special things, and yet they were relatively young. R2 and Trey and Art, when we went through that in late November and December, they played 37, 38 college games. So to watch them navigate that adversity and watch them grow and watch Kalk and Reef and Farabello and Baylor, all these guys work together to get through that was really rewarding. And I knew then that this team had a chance because they weren't going to let anything tear them apart. And in coaching, that's what it's all about. You want your team to grow. You want your team to get better. You want your team to come close to reaching their potential. You want your team to be playing their best basketball at the end of the season. And we checked all those boxes, and we did it in a way that where they exhibited the character and the people that they are throughout the process. These guys are people for others. And when you have a team of guys like that, individuals like that, it's a beautiful thing to coach. And I'll always be indebted to them. And as I told them in the locker room, I really appreciate that I had the opportunity to coach them.
Anything else? Okay. Guys, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time this week. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey, just an announcement here. We're still waiting on San Diego State, but in case you do not have the South Region All-Tournament team, it is Kalkbrenner and Shireman from Creighton, Tosan from Princeton, and Lamont Butler and Darian Trammell from San Diego State. And the most outstanding players are Kalkbrenner and Trammell. Just a heads up, San Diego State, the Aztecs are on the way to the interview room. Hello. The Aztecs are getting settled here at the dais. Check your phones. Please put them on silent. we'll let them get settled, and then would like Coach to start us off with some opening remarks here from the South Region champions. Coach.
First of all, congratulations to Coach McDermott and Creighton. They got a really good team, and we were separated by 1 point tonight. And if there was time on the clock, who knows what could have happened. But we're grateful to be advancing. I told the team in the locker room, they had the music going. I walked in, and I told them, turn it down. I said, either sing, dance, or get out of the way. Aztecs are going to the Final Four. So here we are. We're making the next step. And it's something we've always talked about, and I'm sure there were people who doubted we could do it, but we never doubted for a minute. And not to say it's easy to get there or that we would ever get there, but we're there now, and we're going to go and try to win the thing.
Okay, questions here in the interview room? We'll start on the left side aisle.
Darian, when you're standing at the free throw line, kind of knowing what's at stake, can you just sort of walk us through what you're thinking when you get there and then after the first one missed?
Just having the utmost confidence in myself. I feel like I've shot probably 1,000 free throws in the last week. So at the end of the day, I feel like I put in the work to be able to step up and have the confidence that I was going to make them.
Okay, right side here, second row.
Coach, before the game, we saw you talking to Coach McDermott and, embracing before the game started. So, talk to us about what it's like to coach against, a friend like that.
It's always hard when you go against a friend because as much as I celebrate winning, if you don't feel apathy for a friend, you're not a true friend. And so I'm grateful to win, but I felt bad for Greg and his team because they're a Final Four team also. But with a one-and-done situation, the volatility of this tournament, we were fortunate enough to go, and I feel bad for a really good Creighton team.
Back row on the aisle on the left.
Darian, I wonder how much pressure you felt on the foul, whether you expected it to be called, and whether it had any impact in your shot.
I wouldn't say so. I feel like I still had a good look. The refs made their call. But they called it, and I got an opportunity to knock down free throws to win the game for my team.
Left side, third row.
Union Tribune. For Darian, two questions. Number one, were you surprised that they called that foul in that part of the game? You've been in a lot of close games this year, and they've swallowed their whistles in a lot of games. Officials seem to be.
I wouldn't say I was surprised. I think I got fouled, but it was up for the refs to decide. Even if they didn't call it, we were going to lace them up and get ready for an overtime.
And after you missed the first one and you're getting ready to shoot the second one, you took a deep breath and exhale, which you normally, I don't think, do. What were you thinking at that point?
That the moment wasn't too big for me. To do everything I've been through, I feel like the opportunity was just set there for me. It was God's timing, and I just had to believe in that and just having that confidence that, I missed the first one, but I definitely wasn't going to miss the second one.
Okay, right side, third row.
Each of your players that came in, they were in for more than 10 minutes. Just how much confidence does that give you? At this stage of the season, that you're able to have those guys come in and you can turn to just about anybody on your bench as you're heading into the Final Four.
Yeah, this is truly riding the guys that are playing the best. So it's the end of the game. Guys that have played the best for the majority of those 40 minutes are in at the end, and that's what we had. And then obviously we have offensive, defensive substitutions at time. But I've talked about the depth being our greatest strength. And depth isn't a strength unless they embrace it, and this team embraces it.
Left side on the aisle.
Gary Graves from the AP for Arup and for Coach Dutcher. I guess the two baskets that you made late to put your team ahead, what was behind that? Were you just feeling like if you had the ball and had the chance that you were going to take it, or was it called, or what? And for Coach, just how your thinking went into that sequence.
That's where we had the advantage today. It was at the fourth spot, ducking in with Darren or Lamont coming off ball screens. And so when I got in, I've done it 1,000 times throughout the season. And so it was just just another shot. I mean, obviously there was a lot more weight to it, but I wasn't thinking like that. I was just thinking, staying in rhythm and getting that shot up, and yeah, just putting my team up front.
This is from a young guy that wasn't going to play basketball 2 years ago, was going to give it up because of injuries. To come back and play on this stage and make the baskets to send us to a Final Four is a great story.
We go to the right side here on the aisle, and then two more from there.
Isaac Bourne, Mid-Major Madness. Coach, so in the first half, Nathan Mensah was kind of having a little trouble guarding Kalkbrenner, but then in the second half, he came out and had one of the best defensive halves that he's had in this tournament. So what do you have to say to his defense against one of the better centers in this tournament right now?
I mean, when you're playing a really good center like Kalkbrenner, he's going to score some baskets, and you just try to make it hard as you can on him. And so I thought Nate, as a two-time Defensive Player of the Year, made it hard. And those shots could have easily gone in. They didn't. And that's the difference between advancing and not advancing.
Okay, right side, third row, and then second row.
Briefly building off that for Coach or Arope, any adjustments specifically to account for Kalkbrenner in the second half?
We just didn't want to show him angles. We played behind him a lot because he's so big. If you show him an angle, he drop steps. So I felt at least he had to score over a body. You know, we didn't give him the angles to throw over the top or drop step. You know, we stayed behind him with an arm up and just tried to make him score over the top of us. And he's capable of doing that, but we were fortunate that he missed a few.
And then for Lamont, you guys shoot 38% from the field. You're 8 for 11. What was working for you?
I was getting to my spots in the mid-range. I was knocking those down, shots I hit all year, shots I worked on, and I had some open looks from three that I took, and I was fortunate to make it. I'm just glad they went in.
Okay, we're going to go second row on the right, and then the back, and then up front.
Joe Nugent, NBC Omaha. Question for Dutch. Creighton scored a season-low 23 points in that second half. Where did that 20 minutes rank for you guys this season in terms of performance on the defensive side?
Obviously, with what was at stake, it was incredible. And just Darian Lamont, the constant ball pressure they put on, that even a ball screen that usually leads to baskets, everything had to be earned tonight. And they made some important plays, but there was nothing for free tonight. Everything was hard to get for both teams. It was hard for us to score, but, you know, it was just a war of attrition, and we came out on top.
Back row, right side.
Adam Kruger, CBS Omaha. Gwok, what does it mean to get this regional title against your hometown team?
I mean, it's special. You know, I mean, I watched up. I mean, I grew up watching Creighton go to the tournament and play, and just being a fan of Creighton. And you know, obviously, they're a really good team. And so being able to, at least my final year, after losing last year, and being able to come back this year and play against them, the Elite Eight, and beat them, it's special, you know. I'm from Omaha, but I don't feel that bad for Omaha. You know, this is for San Diego, and so the people that are with me, all the people from South Omaha, all my family, all my friends, all my close people, they were supporting me, they were behind me, and so that's all that mattered.
Front row, right side.
Brian, on the replay, when the game actually ended, it looked like you had a pen in your hand, like drawing up a play. I'm just wondering, like, the guys celebrate, you have to pull them back, and then there's about a 2-minute delay. You don't know whose ball it's going to be. I just wonder if you can walk through that whole end sequence. It was a little bit bizarre.
I think I talked for 10 minutes. I don't know if anybody heard 30 seconds. So it was, well, if it's their ball and it's more than 0.4, then we have to play straight. And if it's 0.3, we're going to surround the rim and not let them lob. If it's our ball, we're going to throw deep where we can just get it in and touch it. And hold on, who's in the game? So, you know, it was controlled madness. So, I'm glad there was no time left because Creighton, last team to have the ball, would have had a chance to win.
Let's take a Zoom question, then we'll come back to yours here. Dan?
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com for Coach as well as the student athletes. This is the first time that San Diego State has ever made it to the Final Four, and it's the first time that the Mountain West has ever been represented. Just what it means to be sitting in history right now.
Well, it's a vision Coach Fisher had all those years ago when he came to the Mesa, and we recruited and told people this is what we were going to do, and, you know, they all thought it was just recruiting talk. But here we sit, and so thank you for Coach Fisher for building a great foundation, for our university for supporting us, and for these young guys for believing in that vision and making it come true.
just to add on to that, I think we just picked up where all the guys that came before us left off. Going back to Brandon Heat, Malcolm Thomas, Billy White, even recently, Jordan Shackle, Matt Mitchell, KJ Fagan, all those guys. And so we're just blessed to be able to pick up where they left off and just to really represent them in the city of San Diego.
Back in the room here on left side.
Dutch, they were, I think, 2 of 17 on threes. This is the fourth straight game in this tournament where teams have not even come close to their season averages. How much of that is scheme and closeouts and high hands, and how much of it is just your physicality and just sapping the legs out of them and shooting to so much legs that they don't, even when they get an open look, they don't have the legs?
Like I said, it was tough to score today. I mean, both teams were tired. It's been a lot of basketball been played, and just we ended up winning the game on the inside, throwing it down low and trying to get toward the basket, and they tried to do the same thing. Kalkbrenner obviously had a couple looks, and they tried to get downhill too. And so this late in the season on tired legs, neither team shot the ball particularly well. But we made enough plays, and we're tough-minded. We were a defensive first team. Everybody knows that about us, and our defense carries us.
Okay, far left.
This is Mark Cannizzaro from the New York Post. If I could ask the players, not Darian, about what Darian means to this team. It's just 2 games in a row in the last 2 days that the ball was in his hands at the critical moments.
Yeah, Darion's a big-time player for our team. You guys seen the scoring outbreaks he had the last couple games, but it's really the defensive side, the pressure that he puts on the point guards, and we love him. I mean, we need him, and we need him tonight, and we just glad to have him on our team.
Yeah, just add on that, Darion's a special player. We've been with him all year, and we've seen him do what he did these past two games 100 times over the practices and even games. And so just to see him break out, it's no surprise to us, but it does make us happier to see him scoring and really leading us because, man, this man, he puts in the work. He came from Seattle, overlooked, and yeah, man, for him just to step up and do what he did for us is special, and we all love him for that. And even if he didn't do it, we still love him. He knows that.
Time for one more on the owl.
Brian, kind of a 2-part question back here. Given the way the game ended, and did you expect that the officials would swallow their whistle at the end? And second part, what do you think about Coach McDermott biting his tongue and not complaining about the officiating?
It's hard. That's what we all do, is have some grace in losing, even though we may not agree with the call. You can't do anything about it. So he's a class act. And so I'm sure deep down he felt they should have had an opportunity. It didn't happen. And you have to remember, I was at Michigan in 1989 where people questioned whether Ramil Robinson was fouled, and he made 2 free throws. We won a national title. So this is not the first time fouls have been called at the end of NCAA tournament games.
Very good. Coach, guys, congratulations and good luck in Houston.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything. Thank you.